My name is Angie Kumalo, and it is my absolute pleasure, and I am absolutely thrilled to be your host as well as your program director for this afternoon. Now, I'm excited for two reasons, really, because firstly, I am a card-carrying official petrol head. So if it's got speed and it's got power and it's got the potential to be dangerous, I'm there for it. And secondly, I absolutely admire women that break the glass ceiling. And today we're going to be meeting women that do exactly that. And they do that with style, they do that with passion, and they do that with excellence. And without much further ado, I am going to be allowing the first person to inspire us. And that person is Nonhlanhla Noni Shabalala. And she is the RMI HR manager, and she's also the transformation director. Noni, over to you.
Thank you very much, Angie. As Angie has introduced me, I am Nonhlanhla Shabalala, and I am the Transformation Director within the RMI. Transformation is one of the strategic objectives of the RMI. Therefore, women empowerment plays a significant role in ensuring that this objective is addressed and met by creating and getting involved in initiatives that promote the interest and inclusion of women in the motor sector, amongst our members and within our organization itself. With that being said, I would just like to urge you all to talk to us during this webinar by using the comment section and the chat box. And please don't be shy to press on those emojis. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, smiley face, whatever you might be feeling like. We also have an exciting lucky draw at the end of the show, whereby 3 of our lucky winners will stand a chance to win a sorbet voucher, which you can use to spoil yourself or your loved ones. So please sit back, relax, grab your cup of coffee or tea or water while you get to hear from the most phenomenal and inspirational women within our industry. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you very much to Noni. Next up, we'd like to call someone who's very decorated. And when I say decorated, I don't mean just in South Africa. I mean nationally and internationally. Her name is Jean Eersteisen, and she's the business owner in the motor body repair sector. And she's been at it for the past 30 years. She's been awarded the honorary fellowship of the Institute of the Motor Industry in the UK, among others. And she's also the RMI president and board member. Jean, over to you.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. It's such a privilege and a pleasure to be here today. And will you allow me first to say how greatly I'm honored to introduce the first RMI Women with Drive webinar to our esteemed guests and audience today. I'm super excited to listen to our speakers today and have no doubt it will be a great event. Some of the most outstanding women in our industry are present today. 3 of these ladies are members of the RMI Board of Directors, Mrs. Rose Oten, a past president of the RMI, and the current chairperson of the RMI Transformation Committee, Mrs. Andrea Bochner and Mrs. Vuyani Mpufu. Also present with us today is Mrs. Martley Keiter, a pioneer in the labour movement in South Africa and CEO of the Motor Industry Staff Association. Team RMI for this event, as you've heard, is led by the talented Mrs. Noni Shabalala, our RMI Transformation Director, that put so much effort into this event with her team. Last but not least, it would be amiss of me not to pay homage to the CEO of the RMI, Mr. Yaki Olivier, who made this event possible. And I'm going to ask a strange thing. Can we give him and these special ladies a hearty cyber applause today? You know, it's only in recent years that women exerted a distinct influence on the affairs of community, state, and nation. Leadership by women in national and world affairs, once restricted, is now general. More women are holding elective office in business and government than ever before. In business, and in particular, in the male-dominated automotive sector, women are beginning to make it work. And they're beginning to make their mark in a male-dominated environment. The purpose of this event today is to honor, encourage, and inspire every single woman in our audience, even though it's a time of great suffering and loss, great humanitarian efforts driven by women are a shining light in the communities all over the world. Harmonious relations amongst our many races and nationalities were born in our communities in the midst of the recent chaos in Gauteng and KZN. Most of you that know me will know I'm passionate about a couple of things in life. And one of these is the development of women in our sector. We so desperately need women to be promoted to participate fully in leadership positions, not only in business, but also on industry forums. We need more women to serve on RMI structures to remain relevant and bring qualities only women have. When I became involved in the RMI at regional level 21 years ago, I was literally a lone voice in the wilderness of men. I did not mind it much at the time because the reasons for becoming involved had nothing to do with gender, but rather to bring about change on those issues impacting the sustainability of business at the time. The greatest challenge I experienced as a woman in the motor industry was to convince the RMI regionally as well as nationally and employers in the motor industry in general about the crucial importance of a skilled and capable workforce to ultimate success and sustainability of businesses and the RMI into the future. The mindset at the time was that skills development was a grudge purchase because of the Skills Development Act and the Skills Development Levies Act promulgated around 22 years ago. To overcome this mindset, I had to personally understand all the applicable legislation that govern and impact all fields of business and the operational requirements of all subsectors in the motor industry. It was a steep learning curve. I will never forget when I was elected to serve on the MIPCO regional structure 21 years ago, I think. I was not allowed to speak for at least 2 years. The RMI regional manager at the time, a much older gentleman who trained me, and only when he was comfortable, allowed me to speak and to participate fully in the affairs of labor at the time. He was a great teacher whom I respected tremendously. And it's of value to mention his name, Mr. Tini van der Westhuizen, who's not with us any longer. At central wage negotiations, boy, oh boy, I had to learn faster than the speed of light about the dynamics at play and how to navigate through it to reach desired outcomes. My participation in industry escalated beyond measure, both nationally and internationally, as a result of an unbiased approach to find simple solutions to complex problems. It took really hard work and dedication to equip myself to achieve the goals I set to bring about necessary change, whether it be in business or in industry forums. To be able to earn the respect of my fellow male peers in industry, patience had to become my best friend. To think before one speak was impressed upon me very early in my career, and the ability to listen to others and to hear what people actually say was another leadership skill I had to acquire very fast. I was in the fortunate position that my parents taught me how to learn so I could equip myself easily to understand everything that I set my mind to. This helped me overcome many obstacles along the way. Young women in South Africa, the gold of South Africa, across all cultures, with a variety of talent and skill sets are needed in the motor industry. For this reason, career guidance at technical vocational education and training colleges to open up career opportunities for women in the motor industry is so desperately needed. As the RMI, we believe in the development of our people in South Africa. We believe in the alleviation of poverty, eradication of inequality, and above all, promoting entrepreneurship as a catalyst for job creation in South Africa. This includes stimulating the growth of small businesses by advocating for a special legal and support framework for these businesses. But I do not believe anything inspires me more than to see women developing into formidable leaders without abdicating their responsibilities as wives, mothers, and grandmothers. Society needs to rebalance. Women must be allowed more opportunities to grow into leadership positions and must be paid equal to men. To achieve this, we must continue to create awareness and build the capacity of women in the automotive industry. And I believe this is the first step. If we empower women as women and we mentor these young people coming through the stages of life with all of the challenges that we face, we can only but win and build a better future for our children, who are the future of tomorrow. So, ladies, enjoy the rest of the webinar. Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you very much to John. I do think I speak for everybody involved in this webinar today to say not only we salute you, but we absolutely are inspired by you, because it's women like yourself that have walked the hard path that has made it easier for women that follow after you to make inroads and also succeed in an industry such as this, which is male dominated. And like you said, where you started, you were not even allowed to have an opinion. But now we have vibrant young women that are joining the industry, and they're doing so with so much passion and so much ability, because people like yourself have walked the hard path. So thank you very much for that. That was, of course, Jean Eerstezen, who is the RMI president, as well as the board member. Do remember that at the end of the seminar, at the end of the webinar, we are going to have that giveaway. So make sure that you stay around and stick around for that. Up next, we would like to call the CEO of MIS, which is the Motor Industry Staff Association of South Africa, and her name is Martley Cater. Martley, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, and good afternoon, ladies. And I saw a couple of gentlemen also attending the webinar. Johnny, thank you for the introduction. I think I also need to say congratulations to the RMI with this webinar, RMI Women with Drive. And it's a good thing that from an employer's side, that we can also drive the equality of women in this industry. I'm actually very honored to speak at this important event. When I looked at the panelist, I saw that one of the speakers, or the motivational speaker, will be Lynette Beer. Now, I know Lynette Beer from years ago, approximately 10 years ago, and I want to start off with something that I think is very appropriate today, and especially in August month for women, with one of the issues that she raised at that stage. She said that the richest place on earth is the graveyard because of all the dreams that are buried there. Those are the unfulfilled and unlived dreams. She also said a couple of things about my not so nice blood red personality, but I decided, that I need to work on it. And that is, I think, what brought me where I am today. I will share some of those incidents with you because the decisions that I made was based on what Lynette told me that time. At school, I always had a dream of becoming the female version of Richard Clydeman. Now, for those my age, you'll remember that he was a well-known pianist at that stage. And looking back now, I realized that my dream was a bit over the top, but I could have, if I tried, to realize that dream of mine. During my music years at school, myself and other scholars were bullied by the music teacher. In the sense that when we played and it was not to her satisfaction, we actually got hit over the knuckles by the ruler, or with a ruler. Just before my grade 6 exam, I had enough. I stood up, I closed the piano, and I told her that I will never touch a piano ever again in my life. My parents obviously tried their utmost to get me back, but I refused. I haven't touched a piano ever since that day. The biggest problem I have is that my own stubbornness led to the fact that I crashed my own dream. I also didn't speak to my female scholars at that stage to find out how they dealt with this problem. And I thought that I was bullied alone. I fought my own battle and lost, obviously, a biggest part of my dreams for the years thereafter. After school and after I studied, I did my articles at an attorney's firm in Bloemfontein. I was the first woman in an all-male firm, and the pranks which my male article clerk colleagues played on me was borderline harassment and abuse. I never spoke to any of the female admin staff, and especially never raised the issue because I was ashamed that I couldn't stand up for myself. Once again, I fought my own battle and I lost it, obviously, due to my stubbornness. A couple of years later, I started working in the legal department of a firm which did the reinsurance for medical aid schemes. How I got it right to always end up in a male environment, only I knew. At this company, I had to face the bullying from male clients. Obviously, at that stage, once again very young, I never stood up. I faced my own battles and lost that one also. And then I ended up in the motor industry and with MISA and headed up the legal department. What I thought I experienced thus far with regard to a male-dominated environment was nothing in comparison what I experienced from that day on with regard to trade unionism or a woman in a trade union and in the motor industry for that matter also. By that time, I grew a bit of wisdom and realized that alone I will never make it. I served on the board of trustees of the medical aid, the old MIMED, and after the merger it's called Motor Health Care. And for a whole year, I watched how my male trustees evaluated little girls or girls from the age of 16 years and older who applied for what they believed to be cosmetic surgery. Breast reductions was obviously the ultimate. Men deciding on photos about the size and impact of on a young girl's body and whether her bra strap cutting deep enough into her shoulders to justify a reduction. And one day I lost my temper. I flared up and I had enough. It took me a year to stand up for what I believed was wrong and to change the system, and I became very vocal. Unfortunately, this time I was alone. There was no female around me on the board of trustees. What I did realize is that something needs to happen. Someone needed to make the change, and someone needed to take the lead. I just didn't know how to do it. I had 2 pregnancies whilst being in the employ of MISA. And now remember, I was the head of the legal department and I was supposed to know the law and my rights. 19 days after my middle child had been born, I was called back to work and said that if I want to continue working in the trade union or at MISA, I better come back. I never discussed it with anyone. I couldn't raise my voice because there were no females in a top position. When I had my second child or my last child, I was called back 9 days after he was born. And once again, I realized that there was no one I can speak to because there was still no female in the top structure in MISA. Looking back now, I realized it's easier to fight for someone else's rights, especially a woman's, than to fight for your own. A couple of years thereafter, from the legal department side, I had to assist a female member that was in the same boat as I had been, and my eyes opened. And I started reading, talking to experts, liaising with anyone who I believed could assist me in standing up for myself, other women, and also fight for women's rights. In June 2009, I walked into my CEO's office and I said, I want to start a women's forum in the motor industry. He looked up, and the only comment I received was when he said to me, it took you long enough to start doing things and getting started with a women's forum. 2 days thereafter, I presented a project plan and a document, and I only received 2 questions. Number 1 was, where will you get the money, typically? And number 2 was, who are we? A month later, I got the money from sponsorships, and I got my we all over the country. As I was starting to look for women to participate on the Women's Forum, and looking back, I can definitely say that that was one of the best career decisions I ever made. We started the MISA Women's Forum with 13 women countrywide. We drafted our terms of reference and began with community projects. In the beginning, I must tell you, it was like the blind leading the blind. I know what I wanted to accomplish, but realized that it will never happen overnight. The women on the Women's Forum were eager, waiting for an opportunity to make a difference, but we all lacked the experience and the exposure. I remember when I recruited our current chairperson, Heidi Reid, I flew all the way down to Port Elizabeth. I'm not going to pronounce the new name. In order to try and convince her to get on board, and she eagerly agreed. Her only reservation was that she will do everything that needs to be done behind the scenes, but she will never speak in public. I must say that only lasted 2 years, because when she found her safe haven within the MISA Women's Forum, nothing was holding her back, and we didn't look back either. With time, the Women's Forum grew in numbers and size, and then I knew what women really can do for other women. We find strength in numbers and stick together. It's not easy to stand alone and fight for what is right or change situations. The support we receive from other women provides inspiration and motivation. When we partner with other women, we, the leaders, can mentor and help others with their journey. And by sometimes just taking the hand of another female colleague, it might be the kickstart of her journey to the top. And even if she's not destined to reach the top, we can still influence her journey to reach her own potential. Together, we don't give up. As a women leader, you never give up, and neither do the women around you. You become an activist, whether it suits your environment, your colleagues, or the society around you. You live out your beliefs and you convey that message to other women. You make sure that women, no matter who they are or in what position they are, they must hear your message, and you make sure that they never give up. Not on their own dreams, not on their lives, and neither on their jobs or themselves. We also never lose hope. When all odds are against us, we must never lose hope. Those of us who are in leadership positions at work or in society must ensure that women around us never lose hope. That message needs to be carried over from one woman to another. That is what women do for other women. No one else will. So that's why we as women shall. We fight against discrimination. If we believe in ourselves, why can't we help other women to believe in themselves also? If we see that one of our female colleagues are being discriminated against, we have to speak up. If you and I had already faced discrimination and overcame that, why should we leave others to climb the same mountains? That is what women can do for women. We can speak up. If you are fortunate and have never been subjected to discrimination, do not think that it doesn't exist. It does, and more so in the motor industry. If we don't help women, it will never stop. If you have a daughter, a niece, a cousin, or a sister who are subjected to some form of discrimination, it's your duty to stand up and be vocal. Teach them, guide them, and support them and see how things can go from worse to better, and ultimately you can make a change for women and the lives that they lead. The important thing is that you speak up. We started the MISA Women's Forum, MISA Women of the Year competition in honor of women in our industry. The community projects that we were running support abused women and children. And for the last 2 years, we are also doing the silent campaign at dealerships, where during the 16 days of activism to end violence and harassment against women and children. We changed the MISA constitution in 2017 to include women in the highest decision-making bodies within MISA, when the constitution stipulates that at least one of the 3 presidents of MISA shall be a woman, and that each region shall have at least 1 woman on the National Executive Council, and that either the chair or the vice chair of our Audit and Risk Committee shall be a woman. My own personal highlight, thanks to the support of my female colleagues, was in 2018, when I was elected to serve on as an African representative on the workers group which negotiated Convention 190 that had to be ratified. Convention 190 speaks to ending violence and harassment in the world of work. And we've done the negotiations in Switzerland, in Geneva, in Switzerland. We were a team of 18 women across the globe, and we were 3 negotiators from Africa. The negotiations took place over a period of 2 years. And I must tell you, on the first day, I realized that my 2 sisters from Africa were gone. They decided that shopping was less stressful than negotiating with governments and employers across the globe. The first evening of the negotiations, the governments of Africa and the Middle East walked out because they didn't want to hear of equal rights for pregnant women or the LGBTQI+ group. It was my job to deal with those 2 government groups, and I realized that on my own, I'll never be able to be successful with that. So the next day, I found my 2 sisters from Africa and convinced them that shopping will not change the world, but the ratification of Convention 190 will definitely do so. And from there on, we worked as an African team together, 3 women, starting to change the minds of employers and governments in Africa and the Middle East. In June 2019, the International Labour Convention ratified C190 and secured a safe place for all people in the world of work. In 2018, MISA took over 15 members and 3 staff members to the International Training Center in Turin, where they taught us on writing policies with regard to Convention 190, doing training, and also tried from our side to make the world a better place. That task we completed at the end of 2019 with a policy to end violence and harassment in the world of work. We had the knowledge, we could do the training, we had the skills, and we had an international approved policy of our own. And collectively, women decided to do something for women. 3 weeks ago, the MISA Women's Forum launched our own first Industry Equality and Diversity Forum. The aim is once again to work with women and with men and with employers to bring everyone on board to make this industry a safer place. And that are the cornerstones of the Industry Equality and Diversity Forum. And we will do so because that is what women do for other women. And just to summarize, I can say the following. Women can empower other women. A strong group of women build each other. Women can stand up for one another and share opportunities. Let the sun shine over your female colleagues. If we have success, Let us help them to be successful also. Success is not coupled to your position or title, but to our self-worth and personal accomplishments. It's within us to reach out and help other women at work and to work towards their success. Forget the I and work towards a we. There is also no us versus them. Be kind, be caring, and be responsible. Women are driven by self-interest. It's normal because that's what has been our survival kit for many years. But we have to be generous and take other women's interest into account. And if we want women to survive in this industry, we need to give ourselves, our knowledge, our expertise, and our experience to other women also. We need, um, sorry, we need as in our lives to live as an example for other women to see how the next generation can develop to assist other women also. And for that, thank you very much for listening to me. I trust you'll have a wonderful webinar for the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the CEO of MISA, that is Motor Industry Staff Association. Her name is Martley. What a powerful testament of a life that she's lived. It is Women's Month, and they say Watinda Bafazi, Watindi Mbogoto. And I can truly say that she has been a rock. You touch a woman, you touch a rock. And that's exactly what she's done. She's been a trailblazer in the industry, and she's taken the knocks that makes it softer for us to walk the path that she's walked. So thank you, Martley Cater, for what you have done in the industry and what you continuously do for other women. And talking of women, we are about to be getting very inspired by two ladies. And I am talking about the first Black female superbike racer in South Africa. She's also the Motorsport SA ambassador and Ducati SA ambassador. Her name is Morongwa Mahope, and she's breaking all kinds of modes, and she's going to be in conversation with Vuyani Mpofi, who is the founder and the owner of Heels and Horsepower magazine, and also an RMI board member. Ladies, over to you.
Now, for those who don't know, Moronga is a wife. She's a mother of 3, and she works as a financial controller, right?
Yeah.
Take us back to the beginning. Mo, how did you get started? Where did you grow? In fact, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Limpopo, Mokopane town in Limpopo, and that's where the Limpopo Express comes from. Yeah, so because I just feel like when you come from areas like Limpopo, you don't get opportunities until you get to Gauteng. So I am the 4th girl of the 5 girls, and I think the mom was just brave with this one. And yeah, 5 girls, and I grew up in Limpopo, went to school, and then came to Gauteng to find greener pastures. That's what we do.
Hold on a second, hold on. So there are five sisters, 5 girls in your family?
Yes.
And you decided to be the boy in the family and get onto bikes?
You know what? I've always been told, like teased, that I'm a tomboy. Yeah, they always said, even the dressing back then, it was like, oh, she's the tomboyish of the 5 girls.
Mm.
Yeah, and the 5 girls, I think I'm the bravest of them all. Ask them anything, they know. If anyone has to do something in their family, they won't be surprised if it's me. Yeah.
Like dyeing your hair red.
And I dyed my hair red a couple of years back, and it shocked my husband. And then
I
I
wonder
changed
why.
it. And then now, when I started riding, I exciting and moving things. I actually I'll always tell him, "Do you remember I dyed my hair red when we were still dating?" And then you were shocked. And then he said, "Never." And I remember that day. And then now, for me, the color of red is like fire, danger, yeah,
Speed.
speed, yeah.
No, I picked up on that because all the time that I've known you, your hair has been a bright, vibrant color. And I think it's very important, as we were talking before, that, you know, your individualism as a woman, irrespective of what field you're in, needs to come through. Would you agree?
Definitely. So you just need to find something. I found my color just brought something in me. So the minute I do red, something wild came out. Because I tried brown, I tried blonde-ish. It just didn't bring
Didn't
that.
fit in.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah.
Okay, going back to your earlier years, what did you study in varsity?
Can I start where what I wanted to study? I was
Please.
a very athletic person. I did athletics. I was very fast. I done drum poppies,
Excuse me?
soccer. Yeah. I was all rounder, played everything. There's a team that they wanted to start, I was there. So I was very athletic and I just wanted to study sports management. I didn't know much about it, but I just wanted to do something to do sports. I didn't know what I was going to do, whether I was going to be a coach of a soccer team, but I wanted to do sports management. And my mother and sisters were like, no. And they said, no, what you going to be? And then I was like, okay, I don't know, but I'll see. Then they said, no, but you can't start with that attitude to say you'll see when you finish. And then they said, no, do something commercial. And I did accounting at school. My sister was studying accounting then. And then I was like, okay, accounting is the closest. Then I studied financial accounting.
So when you went into financial accounting, what did you want to become? You wanted to become a CA? What was your plan?
I just wanted to be an accountant. I mean, I couldn't relate to anything else. I could only relate to my sister because she was studying chartered accountant. I was like, okay, let's see. There is a reference in the family, so let me just follow in her footsteps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're one of those few people who studied, who became what they studied. Yeah? Because you're still in the financial world.
Yes, I'm still in the financial world, but I'll be honest. I don't enjoy accounting as much.
How does a super biker count beans at the same time? That doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, I always get that.
Please,
Yeah.
continue.
I don't enjoy. I must be honest. I enjoy. I enjoy riding. I enjoy racing. If there was a career, I'll definitely, and it paid bills, I'll definitely do that. But for me, accounting is something that I learned, even though I loved it at school, but it's not something that I wanted. You know. Yeah.
Okay, now that you've touched on the whole, let's go to the part where you are. How old were you when you first started with your interest in biking?
The interest started at the early ages, 20, 25, 26. And the riding started much later because I struggled to convince my husband to get me a bike. And he and of so many reasons, even with my family, when I had to tell them that I'm finally getting the bike, they were so traumatized. What is this? I mean, by then it was at the age of 30, but I used to nag my husband, can I get a bike? And then he said, no, these things are dangerous. And there was a friend, Gele, who was used to ride with the guys. And then I'm like, but there is someone riding, you know. And then he got the idea, but he was still not convinced. I think, I don't know, at that day, what happened to him. I don't know. He just agreed.
I think that's very interesting because I always use it as a motivating, statement that women can do anything you want to do at any age that you decide to do it at. You're never too late to start.
True.
Unlike what popular society will tell you that you need to start young. Yes, I do understand that there is a reason why you could have started maybe when you were 7 or 16 or whatever the case might be. But you basically get to start where you start. From a societal point of view, I also find that as a female of color on a bike, it's not quite easy. What are some of the experiences that you had to go through to convince family? What were some of the experiences that you got from society, your culture? You come from a place with a very strong culture. There's this black woman on a bike. That's not very feminine by African standards.
To start with the family, obviously, I had to win them over. I mean, my mom, to think, my child on a bike, it wasn't the easiest. My sister, I remember they said, I'm going through midlife crisis at the age of 30. What is going to happen to your kids? you're gonna die, you know, those kind of things. And then back then, I know there are a few ladies that started much earlier than me. But even then, when I started 2013, 12, yeah, it was still, I mean, very not common. It wasn't common in with women, especially of color. You know, they look at you like, okay, no, this should be written by, you know, men. You know, yeah.
So how do you go from having an interest in bike, now you've convinced your husband to get you a bike? What is your first bike? And who teaches you how to ride?
My first bike, and I just let it go not so long ago.
Oh.
It was a Kawasaki 250. I love that bike. Even though I've seen better days and worse days, but I'm so glad that, you know, when I started off on a good note, because I got permission from my husband. I mean, this friend of mine referred me to a couple that was in Benoni, Rotorukis, and then they said, okay, now go for a day, because he saw that, you know what, this woman is not gonna let it go. You know what, go for a day, go and learn how to ride. Maybe when you come back, I think that was what he was hoping. When you come back, you'll be scared and not get on a bike anymore. And when I came back, I was like, I'm going to this place in Midrand. He was like, no, don't talk to anyone. I'm on my way. So yeah, then we started researching on the bike. I think that's the most important, research, and don't just buy because you saw so and so buying a big 1,000cc bike. I started on a small 250 bike, and I love that bike.
Mo, why then go from biking, which is that's one end of the spectrum, but you went all the way to super biking on a track? Explain.
And I'll be honest, I didn't know about the sport until, sure, I would say 2015. So I rode from 2013. All I wanted was a bike to get to from Pretoria to Sandton, beat the traffic, you know, be that one guy in between. Because I used to sit an hour and a half, and I used to admire bikes maneuvering in between the traffic. So from there, I started riding, and then my husband also followed, and then he also started riding as well. And we met a couple of guys, and then we started doing day jogs. We started doing bike runs, breakfast run with them, with the other guys. And I was the first lady of Eagles Bikers Limpopo. And we went on to a trip to Mpumalanga, and I enjoyed the Savi mountain bike. And the guys were on a big machines, 1,000 cc's. And then when you go to the mountains, I was the first one. Imagine on a 250, people on 1,000 cc's were very slow. And then a friend of ours said, you know what, you seem to enjoy the caves. So why don't you do track riding? I'm like, what is track riding? No, go to a track and then start riding a bike there, because you seem to be enjoying the caves. And I went to the track, and I met Temba Kumalo, the superbike racer then. He was racing at the circuit, and he told me, you know what, once you start here, that's the end of it. And then I started following in the races. I started going to his races. And then in 2015, I decided, you know what, 2016, I'm going to start racing.
So we've got TK to blame for all of this.
Yeah. September.
Tell us about
Yeah.
your first race. What was that experience like? What kind of a bike were you on? Whose bike was it? Did you actually just like go on the same Kawasaki? Did you buy a new bike for it? What was that experience like?
So the minute I started doing track, and then I started realizing, you know what, this bike is too slow and small for the track. And I got myself a 600cc. I got myself a Honda. That was very intimidating. But I'm so glad that I went from the 250 to a 600. I didn't just jump straight to there. And 2016, and something happened like on Valentine's Day, a few months before the races started, and then I crashed. And yeah, so the plan was to start in March, but then I only started racing in September because of, yeah, I had to put it on hold and get proper treatment, and then the injuries. I mean, I broke my collarbone, so I had to nurse the shoulder for a bit. But somebody would have said, why did you start if something almost stopped you from racing. And I said, you know what, I didn't start just to give up. This is what I want to do. And then I went. And I always tell my girls, like, even when they're doing gymnastics, like, if you love something, if you believe in something, don't let anything stop you. There will be obstacles. There will be things wanting you to give up. There will be, it's not possible, I can't do this, maybe this is not meant for me. You must never give up on those. So if you believe in something, if you love something, I mean, they broke their legs tumbling, and then I would say, girls, look at me. I crashed, I broke my collarbone, I was off, I had a plate on for a few months, but that didn't stop me. So if I have that in me, you girls are young, you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want to be.
One of your girls is on a bike as well, right?
Solo, yes.
How old is she?
She's 15. Yeah, she started at the age of 12, and I'm hoping she'll be back soon. I think COVID just messed everybody up. She was so scared last year, and then she decided, you know what, let me just stop racing for now, and then she will enjoy riding on the road or enjoy on the track. But yeah, she raced for a year, and then I was very impressed. I mean, as of the three of them, I said, because they were always at the racetrack, and I was like, somebody had to follow mommy here. And I asked them, okay, who wants to ride? Because they're always there. And then Tulu said she was the bravest, and I was like, okay, at least, I will teach her something that I never got the opportunity when I was 12 years old. Yeah. And then she took on, and then she was braver than me. I couldn't watch her race. I'll be honest, I couldn't watch her race. Like, I would talk to myself, like, talk to her, like, slow down, don't, child. Yeah.
That can't have been easy. Having said that, and speaking about family support, I have watched your husband at the track. I have watched your husband at the track. He is probably the most supportive man I've ever seen of a woman doing what you do. And I always take my hat off to James. But my question is, what has it been like for him supporting you? One, you are doing something unconventional for where you come from, for your color, for your gender. And he's the man. How does he manage to help you and still retain, being the man of the household?
James is a very relaxed guy. I mean, he got comments, and he'll laugh about it. Like, you know what, guys, my wife is braver than me, and that's it. She's braver than me, and then she'll just make jokes. He'll just make jokes like, there's one in the family that has to, protect the other one. But I appreciate that about him, and I think maybe that's what I gave him the confidence to say, you know what, this is something that I want to do, and then you can support me. And he saw that I was very dedicated. I showed commitment, and he said, you know what, if my wife is committed, let me support. And then he pulled back and he said, we used to ride together, and we used to do circuit together. And he'll say, you know what, I think you are the bravest of both of us. I mean, for you to come from a crash and then still want to race and still want to push, I think you'll go far. Yeah.
Oh, Jane for president. Jane for president. One of the biggest highlights, I think, was when I first saw you racing, I think at Red Star Racetrack. What has been one of your biggest highlights? I know that particular race meant a lot to you.
The biggest highlight in 20, and I'll say that because that day I didn't expect it. It was Women's Month, 2019, 18, 20, yeah, somewhere there. It was Women's Month. It was so special for me because, I mean, you race with guys, and then you expected not to do better than the guys. And then Friday afternoon, when we have to qualify, I was pulled. I was like, huh? What's happening here? And it gave me so much confidence to say, you know what, I thought I would be at the back, but here I am, I'm qualifying first, and I'm the lady here, and then in the male-dominated sport, and then I'm showing guys, and then the way they also spoke about me, I was like, okay, there is something in me, because they spoke like more is fast, more is doing things, more is this, watch out for this lady. I was like, wow, okay, there is something special. And then it was a special race for me to say, I qualified, first woman to ever qualify pole. I was like, okay, there is something. And I had much fun. Yeah. And it was Women's Month as well.
Yes, I remember that particular race. What have you learned from racing that helps you to become a better mother, if anything?
Well, like I said, the patience, like you need to put in, I always tell the kids, like, guys, if you want to do something, put in the hours. You need to be patient. I've learned, especially with the last born, that she's a very, she's not patient at all. And I've learned that as a racer, you need to be very patient if you want something, because she will cry, like things are not happening. She will cry. And I'm like, that's not racing. Like what I've learned is you need to be patient. Things will come right. Put in the time, put in the hours. If something doesn't feel right, doesn't work out, you don't give up. Keep on trying. Go back. Redo your work. Do your homework. If you feel like the pole on the gymnastics is too much for you, you need to practice and do it. Yeah.
And in the workspace, would that be the same answer? What has racing helped you to become better at your job, in your career, as a colleague, as a boss?
Sure, very calm. I'm a very calm. I'm a very calm worker, and people will say, "Oh, this is happening," and I'm like, "Okay, Mo, you're not panicking. What's happening?" I'm like, "Guys, if you can't change the situation, why panic? You must just let things be and only worry about stuff that you can change. If you are sitting here at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're working, and obviously expected as a financial controller, and now you want to sleep, you know what? You cannot throw your toys. There's nothing you can do. Wait for the situation. If you have to work through the night to get things done."
Everything that you do seems to be very high pressured. You're working with money, a lot of it. You're working as a mom, 3 very lively young ladies with different personalities, and you're on the track. How do you find the balance? How do you go from one to the next and still remain breathing?
Yeah, no, it's very tough. What helps me a lot is finding things that I need to do to calm myself. I will just switch off and have my me time. I think often it's like watch my favorite series, even if I have to repeat it. That for me is finding yourself, calming yourself, finding things that you love. I go to gym. When I come back, I'm a happy person. Go out, do something fun. When you come back, you're relaxed. Back home from the office, when we used to obviously go to the office, I'll play my favorite songs. I don't have Monday to Sunday songs. I'll play, let me play that loud piano song and then just calm myself. When I get home, I'm happy. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to find out from you. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a challenging question to ask. Bring it, she says, out, and we just love this woman. Okay, so you go from a racetrack and you are a mom. We were talking earlier about your accomplishments and where you are right now. What's coming next? What's next for Mo? And this is the precursor to the question I'm asking.
What's coming? I love bikes. If I'm not on the circuit, I ride the bikes on the road. But I enjoy obviously circuit more. I think for me is to, like how I did with Tulu, is to pass it on. I don't mind. I can stop everything when somebody says, "More, teach me how to ride a bike," because I should have been a teacher actually. I'm a very patient person. So when somebody says, "More, I want something like this," and then I will drop everything and say, "You know what? Okay, let me teach this person because I'm just so passionate about it." So for me is I want to pass it on. And if somebody says I need help, it means that there are people out there who wants to, but they don't know how to, or they don't know who to speak to. So if I have to leave work, leave the racetrack, I'll definitely be somewhere teaching people how to ride motorbikes.
We're almost out of time, but I've just got to ask this last question. What advice would you give to women who are currently in different fields? Because obviously we're with the RMI, so that's all of motoring, which you are a part of. What advice would you give them right now? A woman who's struggling, she's in a male-dominated field. She wants to do all of this stuff. She wants to follow her passion. She wants to be a mom. She wants to do what she wants to do. How does she get there? What advice do you give somebody who's struggling right now?
I think the most important, I think people mostly don't do, is do your research. Find someone that you idolize. Find that person, nag that person, you know. If you have to go to races, whether it's car races, bike races, go to those races. And because I found that the reason why I pushed myself is because of I went to races. I did research. I did, I checked on people, what is happening, what is other. So finding out, doing more, and idolizing a person, and finding more about what your passion is the most important.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. We are now out of time, so over to you, Ange.
Thank you very much, ladies. If impossible was a person, that person would be Marongwa Mahope, who is the first Black female superbike racer in South Africa. And I don't know if you've picked up the thread with all the women that we've been speaking to today. And the thread there is representation. There always needs to be that one brave person who goes into these male-dominated spaces and occupies them fully to open the doors for everybody else who's going to come behind. Because I'm sure if there's a young lady who's never even thought that it's possible for a young Black girl to be a superbike racer with men in South Africa, after seeing Morongwa, she will know that, hey, for me as well, it's possible. We're going to be inspired all throughout this afternoon. And the next person that's going to do exactly that, inspire us, is Lynette Beer. Lynette is the board member of the SA Council of Businesswomen and our motivational speaker for the day. Lynette, over to you.
Good day, and thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. While I think to be a superwoman, one needs to have a few qualities, and change and reinvention are definitely two of the most important. Now, the past 18 months has taught me many things, two of which have changed my way of looking at people and life. I have learned that in spite of isolation and lockdowns, we are not alone in this world, and we are here for a purpose. And I have also learned that people are no ordinary creatures. I've learned that we have an inner resilience and strength, kind of a superpower that we easily underestimate until hardship hits us. Just like the mythical phoenix bird who can, yes, we can arise from the ashes and we can reinvent ourselves. Now let us see how successful people reinvent themselves. Now, firstly, they see difficult times as opportunities. Opportunity for something new, something fresh, something different. Now, the advantage of strange and hard times is that they are ideal for reinvention and experimentation. Out of hardship comes creativity. When you feel uncomfortable, you are actually in a good space because you are at the brink of a new beginning. It forces you out of your safe place. Now, the second thing we learn from successful people is they know that they must reinvent themselves to survive. To survive requires change. As Darwin quoted back in the 1800s, It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Change is not a choice. It is a prerequisite for growth. Now, if you are not growing, you are slowly dying. Growth says, what I am today is not necessarily what I will be tomorrow. Growth is hope with ever expanding possibilities. You see, to grow, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. Now, this requires sometimes, aggression, guts, and totally out of the box thinking. It definitely asks for effort. Successful people take responsibility for everything that happens in their lives. Take responsibility for the things you do wrong, but also for anything that happens to and with you. Why? Why? Because your personal responsibility is under your control. When you accept responsibility, even for the things that were not your fault, only then you can take charge of your life. We cannot blame other people or circumstances. Playing the blame game will take you nowhere. We need to take the responsibility. Unsuccessful people blame others and adopt a victim mentality. But successful people go after the things they want. You see, you get what you aim at. And for this reason, you have to be very careful what you aim at. Focus on the things you want, not on what prevents you from getting it. And do make sure you want it badly enough. Do what it takes, even when it means doing things you do not like. Unsuccessful people are not willing to do what it takes. Remember that complaining is always an excuse for inaction or just sitting back. Ask yourself, what do I want? Why do I want it? What do I have to get there? And make your criteria for failure and for success razor clear to yourself and stay focused. Now we know that hard times force people to make plans and turn their businesses around. But the world's most successful businessmen and women have discovered that for a business to survive in the long term, the best time to be recreated is when it reaches its peak. You see, there are many examples of businesses who were riding the crest of a wave and neglected their own reinvention. One such a story is that of Kodak, who had 85% of the film market in the USA. Ironically, in 1975, a 24-year-old Kodak engineer named Steven Sasson invented the world's first digital camera. But Kodak didn't want to launch it for fear of harming their own film business. They couldn't believe that people would prefer looking at pictures on a screen. And in 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. And although they later returned to the market, it was no longer as the market leader. Successful business people are happy and fulfilled in their jobs. Now, research has shown that parents who work long hours and arrive late at home have little to no effect on their children's happiness. However, children of parents who come home from a job that they hate tend to be the bullies at school. Now, this tells us that being unhappy in the work you do has a destructive influence on families. And reinventing yourself in your career could be a major contributor to the happiness in your home. They say the average father spent only 7 minutes per child per day. Now, that was pre-COVID. But that is quite a shocking figure, isn't it? And sometimes we have to consciously reinvent our relationships with our families in order to be happy and fulfilled in our jobs. Successful business leaders know that the success of a business depends on the depth of care at all levels. In most people-oriented businesses, it is always about a team. Your team is like your family. You have to take care of each other, especially in the times we are living in. Dig deep down into yourself to help others. Always find a way to pay it forward and help those in need. You see, serving a greater cause changes people and a company's perspective. Now, for me, the best guideline for teamwork is the story of the 20-mile march. It is a story of the two explorers, Scott and Amundsen, and their teams setting out to find the South Pole in October 1911. Now, Scott's team pushed themselves on good days, resting when circumstances were bad. Amundsen approached the journey at a steady pace of 20-mile treks each day, regardless of sun or snow. Amundsen's team made it to their destination on time, while Scott's team paid with their lives. The 20-mile march concept has become a way to distinguish great companies from average ones, with team members aiming at consistency, and looking out for one another. Having a clear 20-mile march focuses the mind, because everyone on the team knows their markers and their importance. They can stay on track. Take time and redefine your 20-mile march. Ask yourself if your team is aligned with you. Showing up, pushing through, and never giving up. Reinvented business leaders lead by example. They are kind, scrupulously honest, and relentless in work ethic. They are prepared to outwork those who follow them. And one way of becoming an expert in your field is by becoming a teacher. Now, I recently discovered a new definition for learning. It is finding out something you are doing wrong. Reinventing yourself means doing new things and doing things in a new way. And this often implies that you have to stop doing certain things. Reinventing yourself means that the person that comes out at the other end is a changed person. We have also determined that reinvented business leaders choose their relationships carefully. But step one in this journey, new journey, is to know people. Firstly, to know yourself. And secondly, to know the people that share your life, both at home and at work. You cannot change your God-given temperament, but you can change how you treat yourself and others. Reinventing yourself starts with knowing who you are and understanding what makes you tick, and of course, explode at times. Now, many years ago, I have discovered the temperament model of the Greek philosopher Hippocrates, who studied behavior patterns in humans 400 years before Christ. And he referred to the temperaments as the sanguine, the choleric, the phlegmatic, and the melancholic. Now, according to this temperament model, all people belong to one of four temperaments. It gives us the explanation as to why some people love the spotlight and why others hate it. It's part of their inherited nature. Now, the day I discovered the truth about myself, it made such a huge difference to my life and relationships that I wanted to share it with everyone I met. To make things just a little easier, I have renamed the temperaments into Yappy Yellow, Raving Red, Groovy Green, and Brilliant Blue. Now, looking at the temperament model, you will see that the yellow and red temperaments are absolute extroverts. They are natural leaders with lots of energy. And one of the major differences between these two temperaments is that popular yellow is people-orientated, while your powerful red is definitely task-orientated. You need to know this. And the green and the blue temperaments are the introverts, with the perfect, brilliant blues being the introverts of the introverts. They are at their happiest when they can avoid all contact with human beings outside their immediate circle of people. Now, the peaceful greens are also introverted, but they are, like the yellow, more people-orientated and can take others' sorrow very personally. Now, greens hate conflict and they tend to have a lot of friends. They also excel at relaxation. All four temperaments get driven by anger and fear, but yellow and red are anger specialists, while green and blue battle with the emotions of fear and anxiety. Everybody is a unique blend of the four temperaments, with one color usually being dominant and a secondary color that could be almost as strong as the first. Now, knowing who you are means that you can be yourself. There are no good or bad temperaments, and every family and business and organization has a need for the natural-born red leaders, the bubbly, energetic yellows, the thoughtful, detail-orientated blue perfectionists, and the peaceful greens who make sure that everybody is okay. Now, each of the temperaments has natural strong qualities as well as natural weaknesses, which comes to the fore in conflict and stress situations. So understanding that people are wired differently is a challenging task, and it requires a willingness to adapt and learn. But the reward is great. I have seen it work. Instead of frustration and disconnection, knowing and appreciating our differences make for meaningful relationships and a transformed life filled with a deep and inner joy. Now, it does not matter how strong we are. We all have challenges. Now, the adapted Kubler-Ross model has become a popular tool used by therapists and business consultants to help people cope with the emotional challenges of the present pandemic. Now, the Swiss-American psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, known for her near-death studies, assisting people with the painful process of dying and mourning, in her internationally best-selling book on death and dying, she discussed her theory of the 5 stages of grief experienced by a person who is approaching death or who has lost a loved one. And as I previously said, the adapted Kubler-Ross model has become a popular tool used today by businesses and consultants to help people cope with the emotional challenges of the present pandemic. The Kubler-Ross change curve depicts the various stages of emotions which are experienced by most people coping with the demands of the COVID-19 virus. You see, change is in a way a form of mourning because it asks of us to adapt to a new kind of life, unknown to us. Know that it is normal to go through each phase and to get stuck in one or more of them. Ask yourself where in the curve you find yourself at the moment. You see, it starts with the initial shock at the event or crisis. Now, in this case, the announcement of our lockdown situation limiting people's movement and activities. And then follows denial, the disbelief, trying to find evidence that it is too bad to be true. And then the next step is frustration and anger, realizing that you have little or no control. And then the curve reaches its lowest point when depression sets in. You see, this results in a lack of energy and a dark mood. Now, experimenting is the first step towards discovery when you decide to engage with a new situation. You have to. Decision is the next step forward on the road to positivity when you learn to make the best of the situation and start working towards a solution. Integration is when you reach the top of the curve, accepting what has happened and resolved to adapt to change. Now, the victory of reaching the top of the mountain is that you emerge as a stronger and renewed person, integrated with the challenge and committed to grow. Now, in closing, to reinvent yourself and your business, you need to become aware of your thoughts. You are a thinking being. You think all day long, and at night as you sleep, you sort out your thinking. And as you think, you choose. And as you choose, you cause genetic expression to happen in your brain. This means you make proteins, and these proteins form your thoughts. You see, your thoughts are real, physical things that occupy mental real estate. As we think and imagine, we change the structure and the function of our brains. Did you know that? Our thoughts have remarkable power to change our brain. And our brain is changing moment by moment as we are thinking. By our thinking and choosing, we are redesigning the landscape of our brain. Our mind is designed to control the body, of which the brain is a part, not the other way around. Our minds control our brain. Matter does not control us. We control matter through our thinking and choosing. You see, we cannot control the events and circumstances of life. But oh man, we can control our reactions to anything, and in doing so, we change our brains. It's not easy. It is hard work, but it can be done through our thoughts and our choices. You are free to make choices about how you focus your attention, and this affects how the chemicals and proteins and wiring of your brain change and function. Now, scientists are proving that the relationship between what you think and how you understand yourself, your beliefs, your dreams, your hopes and thoughts, has a unique impact on how your brain works. Research shows that 70 to 98% of mental, physical, and behavioral illness comes from one's thought life. This staggering and eye-opening statistic means only 2 to 25% of mental and physical illness come from the environment and your genes. Thus, 75 to 98% of mental, physical, and behavioral illness comes from one's thought life. Shoo. Of all the things in this world that you can protect. Your thoughts are the most important. Now, the downs are what made us grow. It makes human sense that our experiences shape our lives and our thoughts. We have ups and we have downs, good days, bad days. Sometimes we feel that life isn't fair and that we were dealt a bad hand of cards. I recently heard a quote that stopped me in my tracks. Adversity, the speaker said, introduces a man to himself. It made me think about the downs in my own life. And I had an aha moment. The downs are what made me grow. It is easy to be happy and content when you experience good times, when things run smoothly and according to plan. But when I trace my own growth steps, I can honestly say that every one of them was taken during times of challenge and uphill. Well, those were the times when I was forced to make new plans. Sometimes, and about turn, work harder, and pull all my resources. I realized that the real challenges in life come when we get knocked down. It is easy to get stuck at these points, to feel sorry for yourself and wallow in the misery of life's unfair treatment. I know of a man who cannot get over a divorce and chose revenge to dominate his thoughts. He doesn't see that he is digging his own grave and that he keeps himself stuck in a negative attitude that blocks healing and growth, let alone the possibility of new relationships. How you handle adversity determines your growth. Evaluate where you are and honestly ask yourself, what brought me here? What role did I play? What did I learn or am I learning from this experience? How can I move on? And perhaps most importantly, do I want to move on? When adversity strikes and the misery has lasted long enough, smile at the person in the mirror. Accept that life is not fair. And be grateful for the challenge to grow. Stand up to yourself and devise your plan to make you a better person. Choose today to reinvent yourself and start with your thinking, the choice for survival. I thank you.
Thank you so much to Lynette Beerde, our motivational speaker for the day, board member of the SA Council of Business Women. And I think we are all going to walk away with a lot of food for thought from what she has said about embracing challenges and, of course, the fact that our minds actually dictate where we go in life. Lots to think about there from Lynette. Thank you very much. Remember that if you joined us late, that we have a giveaway that we are going to have right at the conclusion of this RMI Women with Drive webinar. So make sure that you stick around so that we see who the winners are for that. And to close off for the day, we have Feroz Oten. She is the Managing Director of AVTS, Roadworthy Stations, and also the CEO of TUVSUD South Africa. She's currently the board member of RMI, and she actually made sure that the representation right at the top of RMI happened by becoming the first female RMI president a few years ago. Feroz, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. I am so energized after that talk by Lynette. So thank you very much. So if I'm not sure how the sound works, it's very disconcerting not to hear. But if people can just unmute themselves for just 2 seconds and just give a round of applause, because that was wonderful of Lynette. Thank you. So I'm sure you feel energized as well, and I'm sure that many of you are thinking about, what you should be doing differently, and where you should be looking at yourself. Women in the country and in the whole world has taken the brunt of this pandemic. And for us, within the RMI environment and within the motor industry, which is a male-dominated industry, we felt that in Women's Month and going forward, we needed to do something to honor our women. We needed to do something to uplift our women, inspire them, encourage them, applaud them, motivate them, because the RMI, while it has 7,500 businesses, there are many women that are working behind the scenes, and also many women that are leading in their own environments. There are many women owners, there are some dealer principals, and there are many women entrepreneurs. And we felt that we actually need to recognize women and show them that we value them. And I think that this inaugural RMI Women with Drive webinar has achieved that thus far. And without the participation of all the speakers and the motivational and inspirational words that we heard today, we wouldn't have been able to achieve that. And so I want to thank the speakers. First of all, I'd like to thank Martli Keita. I think Martli struck a chord with many of us. She's at the forefront of paving the way for women in terms of providing input to policies at a global level. And so we thank her for paving the way for women and for what needs to be done. Also, I have a great belief in collaboration, and the RMI and MISA has long collaborated on the topic of women, of trying to do away with discrimination in the workplace, also with collaboration on issues around working with people with disabilities in the workplace. And so collaboration is a very powerful thing, not only for associations, but also for women, to collaborate and work with each other rather than against each other. So I want to thank Martli for her thoughts on this topic and for really making us think about the greater framework in which women at work takes place. And we look forward to hearing more of the work that they are doing in the future. And then Maronga Mawapi. Wow, that was fantastic. I mean, there were so many aha moments for me, because here's a young woman, an example to all of us, a role model for our younger people. And she said it. If you believe in it, if you love it, you need to find a way. And I thank you for that. There were so many things that you said that resonated with me, because I know what it's like to be the only woman in the boardroom, the only girl in the room, and so on. So, and I think the biggest thing that we should all take from this as well is that, we're speaking to women, and thank you to all the men for being here. If we only speak to women about these issues, it's like we're having a monologue. But it sounds as if Maronga has a wonderful husband, and my husband brought me a cup of tea because I'm doing this during lunchtime, and it just reminds me that behind every successful woman and a woman that is on her own journey, there's a man that is supporting her. So thank you again to the champions of women as well. And I think Vuyani did a wonderful job of extracting the gems from Maronga. So thank you, Vuyani. Vuyani, if you didn't hear, is also a board member of the RMI. And then thanks to Lynette. I think that Lynette had so many gems, and I've written some of them down. And all of us are going through difficult times. Maybe for some sectors of the motor industry, there's a lot of work for other sectors of the motor industry. It's gone dead quiet. And so it is tough times. And she's said should see difficult times as opportunities, and that there's going to be creativity that comes out of hardship. And I think it was Vishal that said in the conversation, innovate, and so on. But I think the big thing for me is that it takes effort. You must take responsibility for everything in your life. You have to get out of your comfort zone and accept responsibility and do hard work. I'm looking forward to looking at the 20-mile march and all the other examples that was used. So thanks very much to Lynette. Just in our own team, Nani is our transformation director, and I'm the chairperson of that committee. One of the issues that we want to deal with is to have deliberate interventions regarding women. And also, as this is the inaugural Women with Drive event, we would like to continue with this. But we cannot do it without your participation and your evaluation of what has been done so far and what we need to do. We have some time, and I'd like you to use the conversation, the chat box, to actually give us your feedback. Tell us what can we do better next time? What should we do be different? What should we do differently? How can the RMI make a meaningful difference in the workplace, in terms of the transformation of the workplace to accommodate the needs of women, and so on? And I think this is quite critical. Women play a very important role in the motor industry and everywhere. We are consumers as well, and I think that we need to take deliberate action in being strategic in the way that we do our purchases. And I'm not going to quote statistics on who influences the car buying out there, but I think that we need to be able to use our power and not just respond and react, but actually make the path ourselves. And in our strategic buying, it's one of it. But I think we also need to be deliberate in our actions, and we need to collaborate with each other and take a little bit of control over our own lives, of making our lives better, of making time for yourselves. I know that working from home, it's incredibly hard for a mother with kids. It was incredibly hard with homeschooling and so on. But there's also the danger of working from home, that there are no boundaries and there are no balance. So this me time is quite important. So saying thank you to everybody in the way this has happened. We most of all say thank you to you for your participation. I want to thank Nani for actually initiating the idea and developing it further with a team. Vuyani, our board member, for being on board and supporting us. And Danelle on the PR side of making it all come together with the technical team at Meropa. We really thank all of you. I want to say a special thanks to Jean, our president, whose real name is Jani. She has shown leadership, not just in the RMI, but in many of the other entities she's been involved with. She has previously served as president of the Bargaining Council. She's previously served as president of Masita. And so we are very fortunate to have somebody of her caliber leading us and leading the way. And so I salute you, Jani, for that. And then I also want to say a special thanks to Yaki. I firmly believe that the men in your life either clip your wings or they help you fly. And Yaki is one of the guys that helped us and enabled us to do this. He put the budget aside, never objected to anything. He gave a free rein for this event to happen. And it's incredibly difficult for an event to happen on a virtual platform, to hold everybody's attention for all this time. So we thank the Meropa for making it interactive, and Vuyani and Danelle as well. So we appreciate that. So what is it that we need from you? We now need for you to use the chat box, use the opportunity to give us feedback. We're going to ensure that we make work and consider every feedback that is given to us. And if there are any questions, we will try to address it. We have a little bit of time. And if Nani or Danelle or Jean wants to say anything now before we hand back to Angie, we can do so at the moment.
Perhaps just from my side, also a great word of thank you to all of you to making this event possible. I always thought about women in the workplace as the heart of every business, because women tend to bring balance to everything, and they have this natural social inclination to nurture and to take care of everyone. So for me, I don't think any business in any industry can function without women in the workplace. So to everybody that participated, just remember, it doesn't matter what position you hold. When you do your best for yourself and for those around you, you make an inordinate amount of difference in the world, because it starts with you. And I think that was a big message that I took from Lynette again, is change starts with you. It doesn't start with anybody else. It's really within ourselves as women. I love the fact that we say that women should support women, and I think that is important. Gary made a comment here in the box. The RMI should have a women's forum that functions all year round, and maybe this is the start of the forum. So I'm not sure what the CEO is going to say about that, but I think it's a brilliant idea. So thank you very much from my side as well. It's been extremely incredible for Rose and yourself, for the chairperson of the Transformation Committee, literally doing so much work behind the scenes to ensure that industry transforms with all of the initiatives. So for me, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, to the team and to everyone, and to the RMI for being a fantastic organization to accommodate the needs of women. We have really been, it came a long way. It was tough in the beginning, and I think, Feroz, you were part of that history. It was really tough, but nowadays it's literally, it's good to be in an environment. We have a balance of power between men and women, and we take the issues of the industry forward, because I think it's a critical time in world history that each and every one of us have to make and play our part to make a better world, especially for the future generations. I think this time will stand out in history as the time where we will be criticized most for what we have done as leaders. So on that note, it's not to challenge, but to say, Motley, Veroz, Noni, and everybody involved, let's just make a difference going forward to make a better world for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. We have a hand up from somebody called Precious. Precious, do you want to go ahead?
Thank you so much for this platform. Yeah, I did join and go off for a minute, but I really, really appreciate being part of this, to even be invited. I've been listening to what you were saying, and a part of me is actually very excited to see that RMI is doing something that has to do with women, because I've been feeling lost since I came into the industry. So to actually have a day, and it's amazing that it's on Women's Month that we are doing this. I was approached by Noni not so long ago. I'm also on the RMI magazine. It's a big win for me. I did talk to her, and I've been pestering her about the magazine, because I actually just wanted that, that small recognition that you are there as a woman, because it's hard enough to convince clients that you can do the work. But then when they actually see that the mother body recognizes you, it's a very big thing. So I'd like to encourage that you continue doing things like this from this point on. Noni, you've been amazing as the transformational person. That representation is really big, and please keep pushing. It really puts us a step further, as women in this really hard industry to be in. so far. So that's just what I wanted to say. I think the one thing I just wanted to add is I know it's not really related to a conversation we are having today. The mini struggles that we have, for example, I realized that I was not the only one going through the difficulty because there's this RMI class that we are attending. So there's a group where it's Black industrialists, where I saw that there are major complaints about transformation, about it's more racial than anything. But I'd like to have us promote what we are doing today, put it out there just to see that it's not really like people are just holding themselves back rather than thinking there are no platforms for them to speak. So I'd like this promoted more from this point on. It would be amazing. Yeah. Thank you. That's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Precious, and thank you for having the courage to stand up and talk to more young women like you. So thank you very much, and we wish you well with your endeavors and what you're trying to achieve, and we congratulate you for the exposure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nobody else, I'm going to say thank you and hand over to Angie. I really appreciate the participation of everyone, and I think that we perhaps not over the pandemic. I know that many people are queuing up to get vaccinated, and hopefully we can encourage more people to do so, and that we hope that business will recover, because it is an economic hardship for many of our businesses and so on. And I want to wish you all well in your endeavors, whether it's in your home, whether it's in reinventing yourself, or whether it's finding your dream. So all the best to you, and over to Angie.
Thank you very much, Feroz, and thank you to all the speakers that participated today. I don't think there's a single person, whether they are male or female, who would have watched this webinar and walked away empty-handed. There were so many gems, so many jewels, so much food for thought, and many things to encourage us, because I think we are all going through some kind of difficulty, not just as a society in South Africa, but as a human race in general. And of course, those mindsets are what are going to see us through the difficulties. So to Jani, as I called her Jean, Jani Easthuizen, thank you so much for being a pioneer. Thank you for being so brave and to have walked the path that you have walked, that has made it easier for women that are coming through in this industry to walk it a little easier than you did when you were making that path as a trailblazer. And it's always difficult for trailblazers to burn the path and to make it easier for us to follow through afterwards. So thank you so much for the work that you've done. To Matlake Cater, I was astounded by your testimony of you as a lone lawyer when you were starting out, and of course the difficulties you faced, and of course the path that you've also created for people in the industry, for women in the industry to walk through as well. Marongwa, you are an absolute champion. You just, I think a lot of people were not even aware that there are women like you in South Africa, and the work that you do is just fantastic. And of course to Feroz and to Noni as well, thank you so much for having created this platform and for making it possible for us to be here today and to meet so many other women that are in this industry. And of course, they will take what you have done and they'll take it forward. And hopefully there's going to be further webinars and further conversations that will happen from this particular webinar. I did say at the beginning that we're going to have a giveaway, and it's time to announce the winners of that giveaway. And the first person that's going to be walking away with a Sobe voucher is Christine Poko. She works for Robert Bosch. She's the first winner. We've got Charlene Klein from NGK Ceramics, South Africa. She's also a winner today. And Katie Khan from Gindra Motors is also a winner. So those are the three winners of that Sobe voucher, and they will be emailed by Danelle from RMI. To everybody that's participated, thank you so much for your time. And I'm hoping that you learned a lot and you'll keep in touch with the RMI team. This is all we had for today. My name is Angie Kumalo. Thank you very much.